All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome, Spiritual Dopers. Working with a small group, and I figured I'd share it on the podcast too. The book is called Are You Ready to Succeed? This is about the third or fourth time I've gone through this book. It's very powerful. I'm going to be working on chapter one today, and one of the things I'm going to be working on is I'm going to do a mind map of this. So you may want to check out the video. You may want to just listen to the podcast. In the end, you may just want to reach out to me. But that's what today is about. Um, yeah. So we're gonna be sharing some of that with you. The book is again, Are You Ready to Succeed? Sri Kumar Rao. Great book. I found it when going through my TED binge phase, and he's got a TED talk called, You Are Hardwired for Happiness. That inspired me quite a bit. Picked up the book, and when I first got the book, in the beginning of the book, it basically tells you need to commit to this. You need to be ready to go through it. You should have a group to do it, and all these other pieces. And I thought that was pretty cool, but I wasn't ready at the time. It took me a year to even decide to pick up the book, and then I went ahead and I decided that I would also create a group to do it with, and I did that. And this is, I think, the third or fourth year that I've done it. Each year I get a little bit different takes from it, and each year I go a little bit more and come at it from a different angle, and just wanting to share some of it with you. This is the first year that I've gone as deep as I've gone, where I mean I've got notes written. I'm holding it up. I'm gonna hold up the video, but I've already highlighted it from the past couple years. But this year, I've got new highlights. I've got new underlines. I've got notes in the I've got notes in the actual book, where what are these things making me think of? All right, what are my takeaways? What's my level of understanding as I approach this book this year and this time? So this year and this time, I will be recording, like I said, the uh, this mind map that I'm using an app called XMind. I got this idea from, oh gosh, man, what's the guy's name? Rodriguez. He does some amazing videos over on YouTube, and I saw him going through this XMap and XMind, and sharing out some other books that he's done. And I figured, hey, let's try that out for just myself as a way to, again, further ingrain some of this stuff and really embody it, the knowledge. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pop over into. I'm doing this in a video, like I said. I'm gonna pop over to XMind. The book is gonna be Are You Ready to Succeed? The first chapter that we're dealing with here is it is ideal life, right? It talks about what does it look like to build out your ideal life, and he has some questions in there, and he says, hey, are you, do you feel, he sets the whole thing up, right? Do you feel stagnant? Do you have no connections? Is it, is you feel like life is short? And talks through it and goes, look, every day, and this is some of the stuff makes you crazy, right? Every day that you're not radiantly alive and brimming with cheer is a day wasted, which is to me like an uppercut into the soul. It takes your breath away, right? He also talks about the idea that there's a non-linear relationship between the work that you do and the results. And he also ties that into a story, like a Zen master, right? So it turns into like a story of a Zen master that he uses to illustrate this. And basically, let's say a monk or a lay person comes up to a Zen master, or just a person who has mastery, and he goes, well, how long is it going to take me, master, to get to your level, or at least a level of mastery? He goes, if you work at it now, it'll take you 10 years. And the guy goes, man, 10 years. Well, what happens if, I'm at it 24/7, if all I do is this? and his intent is to cut the time in half. And in his mind, he's like, this will take me 5 years. And the master goes, if you double your efforts, instead of taking 10 years, now it will take you 20. It will take you 20. And when you think about it, you just think about all the efforts that you put into everything. And in my mind, it kind of brought up this idea of, if if you also, again, this comes from a level of understanding all the other stuff that I've got in my mind. So it comes up with the idea of all the, imagine, nature abhors a vacuum. That's the line that I'm working with here. And maybe instead of putting all of my energy into a space, I create the space and let nature fill that vacuum. And so what's that look like? It means, again, if I'm putting all of my effort, if I'm doubling my efforts, I'm not allowing anything else to get in to my space. I'm putting all of my energy versus letting some other energy or ideas into it. And I think, right now, my current level of understanding, that's how I see that. So in the ideal life section, it also talks about learn to create serendipitous moments. If you keep doing what you've always done and acting in the way that you've always acted, you can pretty much, and thinking the way you've always thought, you can pretty much expect to have the same results. So what does it look like to create a serendipitous moment? Maybe you're inspired to go volunteer somewhere. You're there because you simply want to be there. And you run into some other people who believe in the same cause, and they, they're in the spirit of giving, they're open and giving, and they're happy to be there, and they know that their efforts are meaningful, and you create a connection with that person, and then that person and you connect, and further on throughout life, and eventually create something together that would have never happened if you didn't leave your house because you were inspired to go volunteer or go do something. It doesn't have to be a volunteer activity, but it does look like acting on your inspiration or inspired moments in order to create those serendipitous moments. And that's right there. Be moved by deep inner conviction. I mean, what do you believe in? What is powerful for you? Right? I believe in this. I believe in this. I believe in this book. I believe in caring for my children. I believe in acting for my family, for before, like, career, right? I believe that I want to see what happens here, or even within, right? If you look at the motto, I think I was with Keller Williams for a little bit. It's God, family, career. God, family, work, right? Uh, and as we kind of come along this path, and if you're a fan of Vedanta or any other religion, they all tell you kind of focus on God first. But what does that mean? And that's going to be something that's up to you. So your ideal life, again, there's something in that you deserve, right? You deserve to wake up and have a brilliant and beautiful life that's filled with joy. So, how do you know that this book would be a fit for you? He goes through this book and it says, "Hey, how do you know this book would be for you?" Well, basically, this is the line out of the book that I knew that it was for me. Do you have the nagging sense that there's a great deal that you have to accomplish, and that somehow you are not living up to even a fraction, not even a fraction of your potential? That's a hell yeah for me. That was a hell yeah. Still, every time I read that line, it's a hell yeah. Is this comfort strong and growing? Again, that's a big hell yeah. A big hell yeah. Are you willing to make the effort to know thyself every time? Who is thyself? Goes back into that deep inner convictions, right? Who, who are you, right? uh, that's where we kind of get into you're not living up to even a fraction of your potential. Where's your connection? Who are you with, right? Um, and according to this book, these are just a couple of the key indicators that you are indeed a fine fit to be picking up this book and checking it out. Uh, why change matters, right? Shifts of consciousness can occur with startling rapidity. When I first picked up this book, I think that I was in just follow these steps and these are the things that'll happen for you kind of mentality. It was very external. It was very I guess career or externally motivated, and somewhere in between reading this book for the first and second time, I'd had some massive shifts in consciousness, and it's hard not to say that the part of that didn't because wasn't because of this book, or in part because of it. So, where are a couple of the areas that need to change? Where change will need to occur. So that's individual change, and I think that's fairly self-explanatory. He goes on to so there's three levels of it. Uh, so the individual, organizational, and societal. Individual is fairly self-explanatory. Organizational goes over and says, look, the old command and control hierarchies are unsuited to our current era, right? And some of the change mechanisms that are out there, they're really literally just band-aids, right? And I love the visual that Sri Kumar puts out there is that band-aids cannot cope with a severed artery, right? You need surgical, high-level medical assistance. A complete and total. You need a doctor, right? You need somebody who can really come in and help with that. So that's an organizational change, right? And then under societal value changes, better leaders will only emerge when we change what we honor. Right now we honor a lot of this material, external success only at the detriment, often of the internal personal self, to the family, to many other things. And it doesn't have to be that way. Uh, I love this line too. Spreading ripples from a stone tossed into a pond. And this is under societal, right? Spreading ripples from a stone tossed into a pond, with ripples growing stronger instead of attenuating. Let's take a look at it in this one way. We can look at it in kind of a social network kind of way, or if you're from the finance world, one of the things that they'll have you look at in finance when you're going through it, business finance, and who's kind of like the most likely to pay, or be engaged with you. Is it the person that has kind of put the most money in, or is it the person who's paid last? I mean, that's one way to look at it, right? Generally speaking, it's going to be the person who's engaged last with you, versus over time. So who the one closest and most recently engaged is going to be your stronger ripple. And another way to look at it is kind of as you speak your truth, as you engage others, the ripple, uh, you know, attenuating means that it gets kind of weaker as it goes out there. Instead, it's going to grow stronger. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get into the third ripple of societal change, and you'll see how and why that can happen. But again, imagine that it's weak from the center, and it's not until later that ripple finally grows into a tsunami.